Okay, welcome. In this video I'm going to walk through the assignment that we went through in class. This is assignment number 4, and in this assignment we're going to create a moving platform game. There are a couple of really key pieces that I want you to pay special attention to as I go through this. We went through them a little bit quickly in class. First of all is the script that you need in order to move an object inside your game space. In our case, we're going to be moving a platform object between two target objects. All right. The code is a little bit complex, certainly more complex than what we've looked at before, and I want you just to make sure you understand how it works. And then the second thing to pay extra attention to is a piece of code that we're going to write that allows one game object to communicate with another game object. This kind of functionality where one object in your game is going to send a message to another object in your game is used very frequently inside almost any game that you're going to develop. So focus a lot on that as well. All right, here we go. So I'm sitting here inside my virtual world that we created earlier in the course, and I've already modified my first-person controller. It's got the specialized movement functionality whereby if I want to look around while standing still, I need to hold down the Shift key. And then if I'm moving, I can be looking around as I move around. All right. To set up things nicely in order to be able to make this platform game relatively quickly and easily, there are a couple things you can do to simplify your life a little bit. First of all is to select your first-person controller and then go ahead and let's change our position of the controller a little bit so that it's easier for us to see the platforms that we're going to create. So imagine that I've got this controller just sort of placed, at random essentially inside my virtual world. I want you to place the first-person controller somewhere where there's going to be some flat terrain out in front of it, just to set up the initial platforms. And then take a look, once you've got the first-person controller positioned sort of in the center of a flat section of land, check the rotation of your first-person controller, and let's set the X to 0 and the Z to 0, and let's set the Y to 270. Okay. This isn't critical, but it will make things a little bit easier as we start to set up the platform. Then once you've got the first-person controller set up with 0, 270, and 0, with that first-person controller selected in the hierarchy, we're going to reposition the view that we have of our scene to match what the first-person controller is seeing. So I'm going to go up to Game Object, and I'm going to choose Align View to Selected. And that's going to zoom me right on over, so now I'm seeing what the camera is seeing from that first-person controller object. Alright, so we've got the view set up nicely. Next, I want to create a material that I can use for my platform. This isn't a super critical piece, so let's just make something quick and easy. I'm going to come down into my project view, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call that new folder My Materials. Then I'm going to right-click on that folder I just created, choose Create, and choose Material. I'll name the material Test Bark. Then over in the inspector, I'm going to choose a texture for that material, and I'm going to choose the palm bark texture. This is just the texture we used with our palm trees. Close that out. And then we're all set. We've got the material that we can use for the platforms that we're going to have in our platform game. Now I'm going to create a cube. So here I am looking out into my scene. and I'm going to choose Game Object, Create Other, Cube. And it will nicely plop a cube right in the center of my view here. I'm going to change the scale of the view of the cube to be 2 for the X, and for the Y I'm going to make it 0.03 to flatten it out. And then for the Z I'm going to make it 6, so it's going to be a little bit longer. Instead of 0.03, let's make this a little too skinny. I'm going to make it 0.3. Then I want to change the name of this cube to Platform. And I'd like to give it this test bark material, so I'll just grab the test bark material, drag it out, and drop it on top of the platform. And I want to position this platform so it's just above the ground. All right. I'll stick it right about there. Next, we're going to create a script that allows us to move this platform that we just created between 2 target objects. So, in your project view, you should have created a folder called Adventure Scripts from the work we did earlier in class. If you haven't, go ahead and create a folder to hold the scripts. And then choose Create and JavaScript. And we're going to make a script called Platform Mover. All right, my spelling is terrible, so Platform Mover. Then I will double click to open it in MonoDevelop. Okay, here we are in MonoDevelop, and I've got my Platform Mover script open. And basically what's going to happen is I'm going to have a couple of variables, target A and target B. These are going to be game objects. Target A and target B are going to define the beginning point for the movement of our platform and the end point for the movement of our platform. Then I've got variable speed. That's just what it sounds like. It's going to be a float that's going to determine how fast or slow our platform moves between the 2 targets. Then I have a fixed update function, and you remember fixed update is different from update in that a fixed update occurs at a regular interval regardless of the computer on which the game is running. Then there's a whole bunch of code that I'm not going to get deeply into, but the idea basically is that if you want to determine the position of an object between 2 other objects, you can use linear interpolation. And basically, if you know where your platform is in relationship to target A and target B, so you know how far away it is from each of those things, you can determine essentially where it is, right, between A and B. And then we can update its position to move it closer to either A or B. So that's what we're looking at right here. We're setting with each fixed update check, we are setting a new position between target A and target B. Okay, I'll leave this up here for a second so that you can get that code off of there. The code is also in the PowerPoint from our class, so I'll click Save and save it, and then enter back into Unity. All right. So here I am back in Unity, and I've got the platform object that I'm going to be moving, but I need to have some target objects as well. So here's what I'm going to do. And this is a slightly different approach from what is in the... it's very slightly different from what's in the PowerPoint, but it's basically doing the same thing. So here I'm looking at my platform object. I'm going to come into the hierarchy, and I'm just going to duplicate that. And I'm going to rename the duplicate. I'll call it target object. You can actually call it whatever you like. Okay. Then I want to take this duplicated version of this platform, and I want to turn it into a prefab. So you remember how to create a prefab. It's just to take any game object and drag it down into the project view. To keep things organized, I've created a new folder called Adventure Prefabs. You should do the same. Then I'm going to grab that target object and drag it down and drop it inside the Adventure Prefab folder, and that automatically then turns it into a prefab. So now here inside my hierarchy, I've got a copy of the platform object. It's in the same location. It's been converted into a prefab. So I'm going to go ahead and rename it Target A. And that becomes the starting point for the platform that I want to move later on. Well, if I've got a target A, I'm going to want a target B as well. So this is also slightly different than the PowerPoint, but this will work just as well. I'm going to right-click on that target A instance of the prefab that's in the scene, choose Duplicate. That will create a copy of it that I will rename Target B. Then I need to set the endpoint where I want my platform to move to, and that's what this Target B is going to mark. So I'll go ahead and drag out on the Z-axis just some distance away from the target A. It doesn't really matter how far. Okay. Before I move on, in my game I want to have a platform move back and forth between two targets. The platform that's moving, I want to be able to stand on it. I want to be able to jump on it. And so it needs to have a box collider so that I can actually stand on top of it. But those target objects that I'm creating, I actually don't want them to have box colliders. Ultimately, they're going to be invisible, and I want to be able to just walk through them without being stopped. So I've still got the target B instance of the prefab selected. What I'm going to do is deselect box collider. I'll go out and select the target A and do the same thing. I'm going to deselect the box collider. Alright, so far so good. Now what I want to do is I'm going to create an empty game object, and that empty game object is going to hold the platform object that is actually going to be moving. So to make positioning work a little better, I'm going to double-click on the name platform for that platform object in the hierarchy, and that's going to zoom right in on that platform. Then I'm going to create an empty game object, so I go Game Object, Create Empty. And I'm going to call this game object Platform Group. Again, you can call this game object whatever you like. Then I'm going to drag this platform object on top of that name platform group and drop it in there. Right? When you drop the platform object inside your platform group, double check that when you select that platform object, its position is listed as 0, 0, 0. This will be important when we start to move this platform so that it doesn't appear to jump in your game when you hit play. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. So we've got our platform group, and I'm going to attach the platform mover script that we just created to this platform group object. So here it is inside my Adventure Scripts folder. I'm just going to grab it and drag it and drop it on top of the platform group object. Now you'll see in the inspector that it's been attached there, and it's asking me to supply it with target A and target B. So here's target A, drop it on there. Here's target B, drop that on there. Now we can try this out by hitting play, and we should see that our platform is moving back and forth between the target A and target B objects. It's a little bit high right now, so I'm going to take my target A and I'm going to lower it down just a little bit. Right now it's set to, my Y is set to minus 21.5 something 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 something. So I want to lower it down a bit. I'll take it down, let's say, I want it to be just above the ground. So to make it easier, I'm going to, in my case, it'll be minus 23. Yours will be totally different, but you want it to be positioned just above the terrain. All right, so I'm going to go to target B, and I'm just going to paste it in. Minus 23. Oops. All right. Now I want you to notice something. Here we have moved the target A and we've moved the target B, both. So now they're low down to the ground. Our original platform is now sitting above them. But watch what happens. Because I've got this platform here set to 0, 0, 0 inside my platform group, it doesn't actually matter where this platform group is located. I can move it all over the place, and it's going to automatically move so that it aligns with this target A when I hit play. So watch this. I hit play, and boom, it jumps right back up so that it starts right where that target A is. Just to make it easier for myself to sort of understand what's going on, I'll place it roughly where the starting target A is. And then I can run it. Now if you want to try this out, I can cruise along here and see if I can jump and land on top of this target. And when I can, and then I can ride the target. Because I don't have box colliders on target A and target B, I don't get knocked off when I hit them. You see it's got some weird visual artifacts. That's because we're sort of overlapping these two objects into the same space. When we get to the ending point of our game, we're going to turn off the mesh renderer for target A and target B, so you won't actually see them.